Yo, what's up, guys? Close call at the end there, but the Raptors find a way to beat the Indiana Pacers 115-101. Now, guys, to start this game, I think we all knew the Raptors were going to be really short-handed tonight, a really small bench for the Raptors. A lot of players out with illness and injury. Sandro Mamakele not playing due to injury. No Emmanuel Quickly due to back spasms. No Grady Temple due to back spasms. You also had, obviously, no Jakob Poeltl due to his back injury. You had no RJ Barrett due to his ankle injury. And you also didn't have Jacoby Walter due to a hip pointer injury. So you have 6 guys out of the lineup tonight. You only have 10 Raptors dressed for tonight. You knew it was going to be a long game, and a lot of guys were going to get an opportunity to play tonight. Now, Raptors started off the game fantastically. Fantastic first quarter by the Raptors. Outscoring Indiana 39-18 in that first quarter, guys. Really spectacular first quarter by the Raptors there. They were moving the ball well. They were making their shots. Defensively, they were fantastic, rotating and doubling and boxing out guys for rebounds. The Raptors were doing an immense job in that first half. They took like a 27-point lead at one point. We saw Grady Dick have probably his best half as a Raptor since the first game against the Atlanta Hawks. Grady was fantastic in the first half, driving to the lane, made a couple mid-range shots, made a three-pointer. Really solid first half by not only Grady Dick, who had 17 points in that first half, including 6 rebounds. You had Scotty Barnes in that first half, who had 10 points and 9 assists. On top of it, Scotty was really moving the basketball well. Scotty's just such a great facilitator, guys, for such a big man. Great vision by Scotty. Made some great passes to Grady Dick, to Brandon Ingram. Brandon Ingram had 12 points at half with 4 rebounds on top of it. So those 3 guys there were leading the way for the Raptors scoring-wise. Then you had some contributions from Ochai, who had 8 points at the half, who I thought played some good ball in the first half. Jamison Battle had some good points as well in this game. Had 5 points in 15 minutes before he left the game in the third quarter with a turned ankle, unfortunately. We saw Jamal Shed, who had some good minutes in this game, had some really solid minutes in the first half, guys. Murray Boyles played well in the first half. He had 10 points as well. So you had 4 guys in double figures in the first half instead of 3, there. Then you had some great contributions from, obviously, Jamison Battle, of course, and Ochai. AJ Lawson had 5 points at half. So the Raptors were playing great offensive ball, moving the ball quickly. They were moving in transition quickly. Ironically enough, without Emmanuel Quickly and Jakob Poeltl in the lineup, we saw the Raptors moving the ball beautifully in transition. And, they were playing so well offensively, very well defensively. And I said to myself, this was kind of like what happened against the 76ers the other night. The Sixers dominated. The Raptors were shooting the ball crazy in that first half, shooting over 70% in that first half. The Raptors did shoot the ball very well, not 70% like the Sixers. They did shoot 58% from the field. They shot 50% from 3. They were doing a really good job with the rebounds, rebounding Indiana 30-19, doing a really good job with the assists, had 19 assists at the half. The Raptors were just doing great things in that first half. No complaints there. But obviously in the second half, Indiana was going to battle back a little bit in that second half. They start off the third quarter really well. They cut the deficit down to like 14 at one point. Raptors continued to play well offensively, scoring buckets, keeping it at like a 15-point lead for most of the third quarter. But then Indiana started to push later on into the third quarter, early on in the fourth. They cut the deficit down to 4 points at one point. It was looking very ugly. The Raptors weren't making any shots. They were like 1 for 13 in the second half. They were like 0 for 5 for three-pointers until near the end of the fourth quarter, to like the 4-minute mark, until Jamal Shed had made a three-pointer to finally cut the Raptors out of that deficit there for shooting-wise. But, the Raptors did some good things defensively. Of course, Indiana missed a lot of shots. Raptors did get themselves in trouble getting fouls, 5 team fouls, really early into that fourth quarter there. Indiana, with 5 or 6 minutes left in that game, was into the bonus. They were able to get to the line. But I thought the Raptors did a good job defensively with their switches, boxing out, like I mentioned in the first half there. Did that well at the end of the second half there, guys, in the fourth quarter. Did some really good things defensively. Obviously, Indiana missed a lot of shots. That contributed to the Raptors finding ways to get points on the offensive floor there, guys. I really liked what I saw from Brandon Ingram and Scotty Barnes at the end of the game there. Your 2 best players have to take control of the game there and find a way to close out the ball game there. And that's exactly what did. Scottie made that mid-range shot. You saw Jamal Shead make that three, and then you saw Brandon Ingram make back-to-back three-pointers to put the deficit back, put the lead back up to 10 guys. Raptors were able to calm down after that. Indiana didn't have anything for them later in the game there, and the Raptors were able to close it out. But solid performances by a lot of guys in this game. Like I mentioned, you're shorthanded. Indiana's obviously not a good team this year. They have a 9-32 record. I understand that. Obviously, they were in an NBA Finals last year. Obviously, no Halliburton. They have a lot of injuries as well, like no Mathurin and no Toppin, obviously. So they were missing some guys. Obviously, the Pacers, they had no Mathurin, no Toppin. They had no Jackson. So they were missing some guys, the Pacers, of course. But the Raptors did a good job not letting Indiana come back into this game, scare them into blowing it, of course, because it would have been really ugly if the Raptors blew a 27-point lead. That would have been really bad. But great game for the Raptors, guys. You have Brandon Ingram finishing off with 30 points, guys, 7 rebounds. Scottie, 26 points and 13 assists, man. Scottie, like I said before, his vision, the way he sees the floor, he is such a special player. I expect to see Scottie Barnes in Los Angeles for the All-Star game, guys. He has been spectacular this year. 10 of 16 shooting, guys. 26 points, like I mentioned. 7 rebounds as well on top of it. Just a great outing for Scottie and Brandon Ingram combining for 56 points tonight. Great game by them. And then you have Grady Dick with 21 points and 11 rebounds. His first career double-double. Good job by Grady Dick. Great game by him, It's great to see Grady be aggressive, make a couple shots, looking confident, doing some good things defensively, This is what we want to see from Grady Dick. We saw this a lot last year at the start of the season. He's had a really rough goal this year, guys, and great to see Grady have a solid game like he did tonight. You know what I mean, guys? So hopefully he can continue this. If we can get Grady scoring again, he will just be another massive added piece to the Raptors, because there's been a lot of talk about possibly trading him. And him scoring tonight is obviously positive to see. Not only good for the Raptors, but if the Raptors were willing to trade Grady, this is a very positive game for the Raptors to tell other teams, look at the game he had tonight. This kid here can contribute for other teams. But we'll love to see Grady consistently play this way, guys, and help the Raptors get more wins in the win column. Then you had Ultra, who had 10 points, 23 minutes of play. I thought he had some decent minutes. Lawson played okay, 16 minutes, 5 points, guys. So got some good minutes from them. Jameson Battle, like I mentioned, left the game with an injury. Of course, Jamal Shead, 34 minutes, 7.6 assists. Now, even though Jamal Shead obviously isn't a great offensive scorer, he does so many good things defensively, draws charges, gets steals, is a real thorn in the side for teams, guys. So I love Jamal Shead's attitude. Now, obviously, he does turn the ball over a little bit here. He's still young, only his second year in the league. Maybe make some rookie mistakes or some sophomore mistakes, obviously. So that's why you saw Scottie being the point guard at times in this game. But I really like what I'm seeing from Jamal Shead. I think he's progressing as a player, only getting better. Same thing for Colin Murray-Bowles. Only finishes with 10 points and 10 rebounds. But CMB as a defender gets better and better. He's only going to get better offensively. I liked what I saw what he did there, making that pass to Brandon Ingram, kicking it out for Ingram to make that 3 in the fourth quarter. They're just smart plays, smart, high IQ plays by CMB. This kid here is only going to get better and better and better. Probably the best defensive player in his draft class by far. Obviously not the best, but he will get better with time. But I'm loving what CMB brings to the table for the Raptors, guys. Now, obviously, there's a lot of injuries right now. Obviously, RJ's out quickly. All those guys that I mentioned. Obviously, I see a lot of Raptor fans on Twitter saying, IQ and Jakob Poeltl hurt this team offensively, slow the team down. I get it, guys. Listen, Quickly's not what we expected him to be. Jakob Poeltl's obviously injured a lot of the time with this back of his, so I understand why a lot of fans are saying, look how they played tonight without IQ and Yak. They just moved the ball quicker. We're a better team offensively. Grady looked a lot better tonight with Scottie feeding him the basketball. I understand, guys. There's a lot of chatter about John Morant. There's a lot of chatter about Anthony Davis. Some talk about Domantas Sabonis. Things are going to get even more heated up when it comes to trades and the deadline coming up soon at the beginning of February. So things are going to get very interesting for the Raptors, but we're playing some great ball as of late for the Raptors. Seeing the way they're playing, guys, finding ways to get wins, of course. Continue to play this way, guys. Indiana, like I mentioned, not a great team. Siakam had a decent game tonight, 26 and 10. You know, Furphy had 10 and 10. Nemard had 14. Walker had 11. Jackson had 14. So they had some guys scoring tonight, the Pacers, but unfortunately for them, didn't make shots. Raptors played great defensively on them. They obviously are missing guys, but this was a great win for the Raptors. Indiana showed some signs that they could have came back and won this game. You know, like I said, cut the deficit down to 4, but good on the Raptors to not panic, find a way to win this game. They shot the ball well, of course. You know, 49% from the field is good. Three-point land obviously regressed in the second half, only shooting 36%. 65% from the free throw line. That needs to get better. Of course, rebounds. Raptors are rebounded the Pacers 61-55. Points in the paint. Raptors dominated 48-34. Guys, fast break points. Raptors 20-5 fast break points. Big reason why, like I mentioned, fast in transition, moving the ball quickly offensively. That was great to see. Points off turnovers 13-9 for the Raptors. Guys, Raptors did some great things today, guys, in this ball game tonight. They got to come home for one game, then they go on a 5-game Western road trip. Let's see how the Raptors do in this single game when they come home, and then they go on a massive road trip, guys, but they're playing some great ball right now. Hopefully they can get healthy. Hopefully we get some guys back for the next game because they're going to need it, because I'm not sure we're going to get contributions like this every game from guys that contributed in this game tonight, guys. So we'll love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions on this game tonight, guys. So like this video, subscribe if you guys want to see more content. Go Raptors, go as always, guys. We'll see you guys on the next episode of Raptors Unfiltered. Ciao, guys.